to another video. Today we are going to go over the 5 things you should know before buying a home in Olmos Park. This is Caroline Deckard with the Park Properties Group at the Phyllis Branding Company. And if you're watching this, you are either touring homes, relocating to San Antonio and trying to figure out the lay of the land, or thinking about moving within the area. Either which way, you're in the right place, because Olmos Park is one of the most distinctive small communities in the entire San Antonio area, and it does not behave like the rest of the city. So going in with the right expectations will shape everything from the offer you write to the home you ultimately own. So let's start getting into it. Starting with number 1. Olmos Park is its own city. It's not a neighborhood of San Antonio, and that single fact shapes more than most buyers expect. Olmos Park is an independent, incorporated municipality with its own city government, its own ordinances, its own city offices, its own dedicated police department, and that means the rules that govern your property. The permitting process, the trash and brush schedule, the parking rules, and the day-to-day life of that address are set locally rather than by the entire city of San Antonio. And that has practical implications. You're working with Olmos Park's planning and permitting office when you renovate. You're dealing with the Olmos Park Police Department as your local law enforcement, and you are paying property taxes that include a City of Olmos Park line rather than a City of San Antonio line. So the very first thing to internalize is that you're not buying in San Antonio municipal sense. You're buying in the Olmos Park area, which leads us to number 2. You are almost certainly buying an older home, and that has to shape your due diligence. The housing stock in Olmos Park is heavy in homes built in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, with original or partly updated plumbing, older electrical components, stucco and exteriors, casement windows, and decades of layered repairs and renovations underneath whatever you see at the showing. And none of that's bad. In fact, that's part of why people love those homes so much. But it means inspections has to be taken seriously. I strongly recommend hiring an inspector who has experience with older San Antonio homes specifically, not someone whose typical day is new construction. And the things to pay particular attention to are the foundation, the original plumbing materials, and whether they've been replaced, the electrical panel, and any knob and tube remnants. The roof condition is also important, and how the stucco transitions are handled. Those are some good key points. The windows and any signs of water intrusion, HVAC system and age and routing, any drainage patterns around the home, because in older homes, any of these things become a meaningful negotiation point during the option period, or a meaningful expense after closing. And buyers who do well in this neighborhood are the ones who go in with their eyes wide open, rather than the ones who assume the homeowner knows what's going on. Which brings us to number 3. The lots, the trees, and the streetscapes are part of what you're paying for, but they bring their own considerations. Olmos Park is known for grand homes on lots that can feel substantially larger than what you can find close to downtown, with streets like El Prado anchored by parcels that often sit on a half acre or more, and the canopy of mature oaks is part of the visual identity of the neighborhood. So you're buying land and trees as much as you are buying square footage. But that means it's worth asking specific questions. What's the survey situation on the home? Are there easements running through the property? Very important. How does the drainage behave during heavy rain events? What condition are the mature trees actually in, since tree work in neighborhoods like this can be substantial? And is there anything about the lot that affects the future renovation or expansion of your home? All of which are easier to investigate before you close rather than after. And these are exactly the kinds of questions a good realtor and a good inspector will help you work through during the option period, which leads us to number 4. Schools are based on a home-specific address, and they should be verified case by case. Many homes in Olmos Park fall within the Alamo Heights ISD attendance area, which is one of the reasons families look there. But attendance zones can change, and they vary by exact address. So a rule for buyers is simple: never assume the school assignment. Verify it directly with the relevant ISD using the proper address before you write your offer. That's especially important if the school is part of why you're choosing the home. And beyond schools, also think about your daily commute, your access to the medical center if that's relevant to you, your access to downtown for work or culture events, the routes you'll actually drive every day, because Olmos Park's location inside 410 just off McCullough and Olmos Drive, give you a strong access to multiple parts of the city. But the day-to-day experience varies depending on where you're headed, which brings us to number 5, renovations. Permits, design choices are handled locally, and that changes how you plan your future work of the home. Because Olmos Park has its own permitting process, its own ordinances governing what can be done to a property. Because those things are in place, what is true for projects that might be straightforward in a newer subdivision require a little more tweaking. Anything from significant remodels to additions to certain exterior changes may require working through the city's process. And the timeline, requirements, and review steps can be different than what you might expect. So if you're buying with the intention of doing meaningful work to a home, it's worth talking to the Olmos Park Planning and Permitting Office and to architects and contractors who have actually completed projects in this neighborhood before you close. But the cost of the renovation budget that ignores this reality is real, and the time savings of understanding it before you write an offer can be significant. And on one related note, the home's history may include past permits, additions, modifications that should be examined as part of your due diligence, since unpermitted work in the past can become your problem in the future. Now let's look at a few quick questions that we get. First is Olmos Park really different from Alamo Heights in the practical ancillaries? Yes. They are two separate municipalities with separate police departments, separate ordinances, and while they have different zip codes, they do share some common characteristics. They govern themselves independently. They have their own identities. The second is, what about property taxes? And the answer is that property taxes on any address depend on the taxing jurisdictions for that address, including city, county, school, and any special districts. And the city portion of Olmos Park is its own line, separate from San Antonio. So the cleanest way to understand your total tax picture is to ask the title company to walk you through the breakdown on the specific home. The third is, what about insurance? And the answer is that older homes carry different insurance considerations than newer construction, particularly around plumbing, electrical, roof age, pool features when they're present. So it's worth pricing insurance early in your search rather than at closing. The fourth is, should we get a pre-offer inspection or wait for the option period? And the answer is that most buyers do it during the option period. We really do not do pre-inspections before an offer. Sellers just don't care for that. So being ready to move fast on hiring an older home inspector matters. The fifth is, what is the single biggest mistake buyers make in Olmos Park? And if I had to pick one, it would be treating it like any other San Antonio home purchase rather than recognize it has its own city, its own housing area, it's got its own character, and its own renovation rules. And since each of these affects what the right home might be for you, it's important to keep those in mind. Olmos Park is, really has its own police, fire, its own ordinances. And remember that if you're buying an older home, the inspection should be taken seriously and with an inspector who understands older San Antonio housing. Number 3, lots, trees, and streetscapes are part of the value, but they bring in different considerations worth investigating. Number 4, school assignments should be verified per address, and commute and access patterns should match the way you actually live. And number 5, renovations and permits are handled locally with their own process. So plan future work with that in mind from the start. And the takeaway is simple. Olmos Park rewards buyers who understand what they're buying. So if you're starting your search, narrowing down your list, or just thinking through whether Olmos Park could be the right fit, I would love to help you. This is Caroline Deckard with the Park Properties Group at the Phyllis Browning Company. Thank you for spending part of your day